Not on mute. That's good.
There we go.
All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to answer my phone real quick because that's my wife calling. And hi, honey, I'm on a call. Bye. She has no idea. So here's the rub. Every couple of Thursdays, we're bringing on somebody that would be, I like to refer to as a celebrity agent, somebody who has a ton of world experience to help, particularly our top agents, the ones that are really in production. It's great for everybody, but the conversation's geared towards agents that have already reached the pinnacle of their success, that are closing a fair amount of homes. And I'm going to do my damnedest to give some great validation to who our guest speaker is today. But before I do, I want to talk about something that'll benefit every single person on the call. In less than a month, we have EXPCon in Las Vegas. Now, I know this because I just checked into it. You can stay at the Luxor for $117 a night. There are discount tickets available at $525 for the event, and it is a game changer. I went last year, and for the first time, I fully engaged, and I walked out with my mind blown. So much so that this year I'll be every morning, 3:00 in the morning. If you decide you want to go to EXPCon, I walk from 3 in the morning from Mandalay Bay up to the Stratosphere and back. It's a 10-mile walk, and we're talking about whatever you want to talk about. You have to be there, of course, to make that happen. But my challenge to you is, y'all, please consider this, and consider it selfishly. You can get a flight round trip for $117. I know that because I booked one, which is just crazy inexpensive. For $500, and for a cheap hotel room, the Luxor, there's actually a walkway that carries it right through, so you're not spending Mandalay Bay kind of money, and everything you need is right there. In fact, there's a great burger joint that's very reasonable on that walkway. I know because I eat there regularly to save money. Do this for yourself. This is just a crazy event. Mitch, you go all the time to these. We've got shareholders in Orlando, so it's real easy for you and I since you're in Brevard. But what has been your experience in EXPCon that kind of separates it from shareholders and makes it pretty powerful?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thanks for having me, George. Appreciate it, buddy. So one of the things, I've been in real estate for 22 years, owned a brokerage, big brokerage, and all. Did all the crap that you're supposed to do in real estate till I realized it was a lie. But one of the things I've learned about agents who are hugely successful and agents that are successful and agents that are not successful is there's a catalyst to being successful, and that's plugging in. And plugging into the EXP events are like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. And I've experienced, look at this. I'm 27 years old, and look how I look. I've experienced a lot. And so my point is, if you don't plug in, you don't gain. EXPCon, if for no other reason, it's the culture and really getting to know other people. Almost everybody I know has made money by going to EXPCon because of the people they've met and the referrals they've received since then. 100%. So, I mean, I know so many of my agents come back from EXPCon who didn't want to go. Said, "Oh," and I didn't make them go, but I told them they need to go. And they come back and say, "Hey, I met all these people." And then a month later, you say, "I got a referral from that guy I met in EXPCon." So it's about plugging into the events, about meeting other people that are like-minded, like you guys are. It's really a growth-minded, meaning growing your business, not necessarily attraction. Like some of the other conferences like Build and Cabo, which by the way are amazing. Cabo is tough to do. I have trouble going to Cabo every year and chilling out, but EXPCon is amazing. It's a great way to meet your peers and plug in to what we actually do. And when you do that, it becomes a hug fest. I mean, I literally have more hugs per capita when I go to Vegas and EXPCon than I've had my entire life. It's very fulfilling.
So here's first off, thank you. And we haven't even got to the point where I'm going to introduce Mitch because I get to do that. We're still talking now for everybody that's just joining us. We're talking about the power of these events that we've got coming up, which is EXPCon. And the quick summary is you got Spirit Flight. It's a direct flight from where I'm at. And I'm about as far away from Vegas as you can possibly get. I'm in the Florida market. It's $117. If you stay at the Luxor Hotel, it's $117 a night at the Luxor Hotel. And there's discount tickets out there that are the ones that everybody bought earlier for $499. It's $524. I know of 3 they're still available. Jackie's not making it, so there's another one that I have too. You should go to this, not because it's going to break the bank, because it's actually going to build you. And the conversations we're going to have with Mitch in just a couple minutes are about that as well. I challenge everybody to say, I'm going to make a commitment to myself. As Mitch said, getting engaged, getting involved. But when you go there, I want you to seek out somebody you want to speak to. And I'll use as an example, and I'm actually going to do this. I need to spend about 20 minutes with Gogo Betsky because she's doing something I'm very interested in, and I need some time with her. Now, we know each other at this point, but the first time I met with her, she didn't know me from Adam. I just said, I think you're great. I love what you're doing. I love your platform and how you're really killing it on Instagram. I'd love to buy you. It was actually a bottle of water, is where I said, there's a water stand right there. I'd love to treat you to a bottle of water and take 5 minutes of your time. We talked for 20 minutes. Everybody that you meet there is open to a conversation. There's nobody that isn't available to you. And if you don't surround yourself by people that you aspire to, you're going to stay where you're at. And our goal is to help everybody succeed. As I said before, if you're going to, by the way, for everybody you can, put your cameras on, need your faces. This is going to be some really good stuff. Make sure you got something to write with. You're going to want to listen to these answers. Here's my introduction with Mitch. Mitch has only opened and ran the largest independent brokerage in Brevard County, which is a county here in Florida. He built that from the ground up. He has at least 20 years experience in real estate. You can tell because he's as bald as I am, if not a little bit further. He is also one of the founding members of Family Tree, which is our bringing together massive training, massive collaboration group within EXP. You need to look that up, and I strongly encourage you to be a partner and join the Family Tree. It's Family Tree. Did I say it right? Just if they see Family Tree, they'll find it. Is that right?
EXP, yep, EXP Family Tree. Yep.
EXP Family Tree, phenomenal things in there. Not really anybody any good in there besides Mitch. You've got Renee Funk. You've got, oh my God.
Hank Avnick, Rich Tomasides, Elizabeth Bradley.
Yeah, nobody really. This is what, this is like a juggernaut of awesomeness, but it's not just that, it's everybody else. And that's where we're evolving to. We're evolving to a massive collaboration. There are no more groups. Of course there are. We have GPS, we've got Alliance, we've got everything else. Our mission is to try and make that go away. Together, we are one big tribe, one big fire. We can take on the world. And I truly believe that this platform will change real estate, not for any other reason, except the focus is on your business and your success. EXP has doubled down on their commitment to our success as real estate professionals, selling a lot of homes. That's the focus, and Family Tree lives that. Mitch founded that too. He's a consummate contribution person. And I asked him, I said, listen, brother, I need you to come on. I want to have a high level mastermind with some of our top agents. And I'm going to pick your brain and really, how do we build their real estate business even further? And for our conversations, first off, Mitch, welcome. Thank you. I hope I didn't miss anything. Did I give you enough of a send off there?
I mean, there's a lot more you could have said. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. You're good.
He's a music fan and loves baseball. Those are his two passions. I know that to be true as well.
That's true. Just played baseball at Fenway Park last week.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Right? Bucket list stuff. Bucket list. All right. So
I've only had 2 bucket lists. That was my second one. I did my other one a few years ago. I went to Normandy. So
it's awesome. Right. Damn, there you go. Wow. Holy crap. That must have been just humbling. Humbling.
Very humbling, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A lot of tears.
Yeah, I can imagine. Anyway, super grateful you're here. This is a high level mastermind. We do this every other Thursday. So this is going to be really kind of focused on the successful agents. I've got some questions just to kind of get us started. And well, let's just jump right into it at this point. The first one, what advice would you give to a successful agent that's going into what we know is a challenging market at this point? Let's assume the agent's already selling 20 or 30 homes a year and they're going, holy cow, everything's slowed down. The market's, the interest rates are too high, all that fun stuff. What are you doing? What is the Family Tree doing to help our partners kind of say, here's your course?
Okay. So firstly, it comes down to mindset, right? The market, if you look at, so I'm a numbers guy, and I look at numbers. So our sales in Brevard County, I'll just talk about Brevard County, by the way, for those not Florida, is Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, Florida. We're down about 15% over last year. So think about that. We have everybody out there talking about how how bad the market is and the market's going to crash, but yet we really haven't seen it on a huge scale. Even I know some of my California groups are down 30%. Yeah, but even 30%, it still comes to a mindset aspect, right? So when the market crashed in 2000, I'll go back to a little bit because I've been through a couple of these now. Market crashed in 2000, really started 2006 and 7 here in Brevard County. We were one of the first counties to go down. And I quickly analyzed my business. I said, well, what's the challenge right now? I had 100 listings at my brokerage that had not sold in 6 months. So yet the narrative of real estate is, well, you just got to keep bringing on more listings because that's the listing control the business. But I'm an entrepreneur. I've had 23 companies in my lifetime. And I'm saying, well, if I have inventory sitting on the shelf, that's wasting money. So I made a really harsh decision in January of 2006 to not take any more listings. And we didn't take a listing for 4 years. Right. And we grew 20% a year during the market shift. It was a crash. It wasn't a shift. It was a crash. My house went from 675 down to 2.25. It was a crash. But the mindset was just, I'm a business guy, take a step back and say, what am I not doing or what could I be doing that'll bring me to where I need to be in my business? Not worried about everybody else, about me and my family. That's number one, right? And for me, it was looking at analyzing the data that said, all right, listings are not selling. We had 11,000 single family homes in Brevard County at that time. Just to give you an idea, right now we have 1,700. So we had 11,000. So we had so much inventory. But what happened? We ended up having all these brokers and agents calling us, begging us to show their listings, right? Because we were the only ones that held the buyers. So we became a buyer brokerage and really concentrated on that. So when you're coming into a market that's shifting, you just got to take a step back and say, hey, what's the reality of my business? And if you put a negative out there, I'm going to give you an example. If you put a negative out there, you're going to get a negative back every time. And I'm a huge universe guy. And so I'll give you an example. In October of 21, Pat, my general manager, George knows Pat very well. My general manager, been with me for 18 years. We were doing a deal because I was still selling 25, 30 homes a year at that point. And we're in the middle of a deal with a buyer, and it was a hell deal, like we all have done with buyers, especially that time. And I said, Pat, I go, I don't like this anymore. She goes, well, what do you mean? I go, I quit. She goes, what do you mean you quit? I go, I'm not selling houses anymore. And typical year, I would receive between 40 and 80 calls a year personally to sell, to be list houses or sell houses or buy or buyer, 40 to 80 every year. And I'd do about 30 or so, and I'd refer out the rest. Do you know the day that I said that? I sold 6 homes last year, and this year I sold 2. But interestingly, because I told the universe I'm not doing it. Now, none of those people called me. All of a sudden, I put it out there that I'm not going to do it, and it didn't happen, right? So then about a month ago, 2 weeks ago, my wife was talking, like, she goes, I want to go on more vacations. You need to make more money. I love my wife. As I told Tiffany, she's very direct. And I said, all right, well, the only way I can do that is sell more homes, sell homes again. She goes, I don't care. She goes, you do it really well. Just go do it. So about a week ago, I said, all right, I'll go ahead and I'm going to sell a couple more homes. I got 2 listings this week. Now, I haven't gotten any calls in a year, and I got 2 listings this week because I decided I want to sell homes. So why did that happen? It's because I told myself I want to sell more homes, right? So I'm a huge believer in it, and your mindset is going to determine your fate. And Henry Ford has the best line ever. If you think you can or think you can't, you're right. It's my favorite line. I use it every single day. And I hear it every day from my agents. I have 2,200 agents, and I have 180 agents here locally. And they're all coming to me and say, well, the market's fine. The market's what you determine it to be. And we're going to go through a couple of exercises today to help you maximize your business that you're doing now to get you there. So I hope it gives you, is that a long, quick answer?
No, that was actually terrific. And I'm actually going to validate what you said about, what you think you can, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And how to do it. Back in 2004 and 5, it was actually 5 and 6 as we're kind of teetering into it. We had 2 boards, myself and Jenny Weimer, actually. We had 2 different offices. We had 4x8 boards, and they would hold 18 listings. And I could never fill up the board. Our mission was to fill up the board. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it one day, and I'm like, I figured out the problem. I can't fill up the board because there's nowhere else to go. So I hung another board, had my assistant put the board up there. We immediately got 18 and went into the second board. And the only reason was we said we're going to be able to do it because now we have a place to go. And it was, again, I attribute it to mindset. The market may have helped because everybody was carrying listings at that point. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you very much. I wanted to either let you run that direction or let anybody has a question, please raise your hand or put it in the chat. We'll get to you. And then I want to shift to another question as well. So we'll leave it to you. Do you want another question or do you want to run with something else?
Yeah, no, let's keep rolling. 'Cause I got some stuff I want to talk about, but we have time. So let's.
All right, terrific. So I'm a successful agent and I don't have a team. This is a little new area right now. I've wanted to build a team. I'm thinking about building a team. In your experience going through a couple crashes and some changing markets, is this the optimum time to do so? Or is there perhaps something else I should be doing as I'm getting to and preparing for that building a team thought process?
All right, well, let's talk about the little dirty secret that nobody talks about first.
Okay.
Nobody makes any money with teams. Now, with that said, there are a few, but you have to look at your life. Because one of the things we're going to talk about in a few minutes is balance and how do you have a good life while still selling 70, 80 homes a year. The challenge is we're taught in real estate, get your license, be really good, start a team to leverage, right? And then once you get your team, start building a brokerage and start a brokerage, right? It's, how do I say this? It's bullshit. It's a lie, right? I'm gonna be totally transparent and honest. I built a team. I had a team of 6 agents. It was probably out of my, besides brokerage, it was fun. But the reality is I didn't make a ton of money. And what was my life like? And I'm 62 years old. So, I've been probably older than all of you guys here. And the key to life is not working to your debt. It's understanding how to work and build a business where you're leveraging properly. So a team takes on responsibilities, right? If you have a team and you have, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in your team, and I'm not telling you not to do this. This is just my opinion, by the way. But now you're responsible for 5, 6, 7, 8 people. You got a couple of admin people at that point. You're responsible for paying them. Your agent's not going to pay them. So the challenge is when you start a team, is you expect them to be like you. They're not. So what I found is it goes into a whole other conversation we can have about expectations. But what I found is I had to build my business based, and this sounds horrible, and I don't mean it to sound horrible, but it was how I had to put this in my brain for my mindset. I had to build my business based on mediocrity. Meaning I knew there were people out there that were going to be average at best. And if I could help them stay average and not fall below that average line, that medium line, then I would be more successful. But I will tell you that I made the same amount of money being a team that I did as an agent. I didn't make any more money, but I brought on a lot more headaches. So that's my advice on teams. Now, what you can do, how I would build a team today, George, is, and I'm going to actually, let me go into something that I was going to go into with you guys through this, which is about freedom. Okay. So one of the things I made the mistake of in my life is I was taught old school business. I was lucky to have 5 mentors that were my friends' dads that all owned businesses. My dad didn't own a business, but he was a great mentor. And they all worked 80 to 100 hours a week. So from the age of 19, I worked 80 to 100 hours a week. When I was selling 80 homes a year, I was working 80 hours a week. When I had my team, I was working 80 hours a week. When I had my brokerage, I was working 80 hours a week. You know what I did? I missed my life. I screwed up. So my only mission right now is to, especially young people, don't do it. It's bullshit. And I hate to swear, but I don't have another word for it. You can do this and be efficient and run a very solid business, make a great living. But if you're giving up your life for $1, you're making a big mistake. And I did it. I mean, I lost $82 million at 40 years old. I did not see my kids grow up. I couldn't tell you 5 things I did with my kids, and they're all in their 40s now. So, part of the reason I moved to EXP was because I was doing the same thing to my grandkids. And I realized there was no way to get out of my brokerage, which is, by the way, brokerage is the worst business in the world. If you're ever going to think about starting a brokerage, go with me, I'm going to smack you silly. No broker I know makes any money. None. They all act it. I wear nice suits. I drive nice cars, right? But I didn't have the pot to piss in when I had my brokerage. I was literally, I was selling 30 homes a year because I had to. And I ran a coaching business because I had to. And I opened an ISA company because I had to, because I wasn't making any money on my brokerage. So one of the things I want to talk, go ahead, Judge.
Well, let's hang tight on that 1 second. We're talking about building a team. The people on this call that are saying, hey, I was thinking about building a team. I'm really doing it. Listen to what he's saying. But I also want you to consider that, and he said something, I wrote it down, it was mediocrity. And by no means am I implying that agents are mediocre, but we've done studies on this before. And the average buyer side, the average buyer agent, even with all the leads being given to them, will not increase more than 20, won't sell more than 20 on average. That's the average. If you want more sales from a buyer side agent, which is normally team builders will focus on listings. The main rainmaker will focus on listing. The buyer agents, if you want more sales, buyer side sales, and you have enough leads, which you're probably paying for because you're not making a lot of money, hire more agents. Don't expect your agents are going to produce more. Your rainmakers, if you're hearing this now saying, I'm thinking of building a team, which is great. I understand that, but I want to challenge you to think, okay, in this market, what can I leverage away so I get back time? Because the truth is the most productive person on the team is you. The most energized, motivated, I'm going to make this work person is you. And a lot of the people on the team, if you don't manage that, and I've had a very large team, I find that if I didn't compartmentalize that to some degree and hire well and fire quickly, that didn't work, that they were able to take my productivity away from what was the reason they're here in the first place that I made for them. And I was no longer focusing on me, which is ultimately the benefit of them. Be a little selfish. Your time is the most valuable asset, which is another way of putting what Mitch said. And how much are you going to give away? So anyway, Mitch, I had to throw that in. That was personal experience.
No.
Way my life.
It goes in. And by the way, I'm not telling you not to start a team. I'm not. You do what you do. You whatever you want is you. I'm just telling you from personal experience. It didn't make me any more money than I already was making. Right, which is important to me. Now I will tell you where it was great. It was great for the ego. I'm Mitch Trebek. I'm a big team leader. I do $20 million in sales. All the crap we tell ourselves that make us feel significant, right? It's all crap. So let me tell you how to build a team without building a team. Right? It's way more efficient. It makes you way more money. So I'm going to give you another example. Remember, I told you up until 2 years ago, I was selling 30 homes a year, right? Half of those were buyers. I never worked to sell 30 homes a year. I never worked more than 100 hours a year. Do you hear that? 30 homes, 100 hours a year, made $150,000 a year working 100 hours. And by the way, my value is $1,500 an hour. That's what I charge when I talk to people. I'm going to do any consulting and all. Actually, I raised it to $2,500 so nobody would hire me. And so far, nobody's hired me at $2,500. But I did that on purpose because I didn't want anybody to hire me anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to help my friends and people like George, people come to me in EXP. I help. But so here's how you do this. Here's how I would do this. I would get a buyer. Well, first of all, go back to listings. Listings, I would get a listing. I would hand it to my general manager, Pat, and Pat would take care of it. So I literally spent 1 hour on a listing, maybe 2. On a buyer, I would, depending on the price range and who they were, I would put an email out to our group. Locally, we have 180 agents locally, and say I have a buyer I'm looking for someone to do it. I'll pay you $25 an hour. I get 10 people raise their hand every time, if not more. And they go, and so I explained to my buyer, say my value is not in opening doors. I pay someone to open the doors for you. That's where my value is, not in opening doors. My value is negotiating contracts, writing contracts, and making sure the thing closes. And so I'm going to use my value for my customers, and I pay people to open the doors for you. The other part of that is I want to make sure that if someone wants to see, if you need to see a house instantly, I'm probably not going to be available instantly, but I have other agents that are. And I never lost one customer, not one. And I've showed probably in the last 10 years, I've probably showed 10 houses. All right. So that's how you can build a team and create leverage. Think about it. If I wasn't running all my other businesses and stuff like that, I literally could make 150 grand a year working 100 hours a year. Now, go back to what that was with my life. I work 80 to 100 hours a week my entire life. And there's a part of me that wants to go back to sell houses again full-time just to show my agents that I can sell 150, 200 homes a year and work 40 hours a week, if not less. But I don't want to do it. I'm too much fun playing in a band with my kids.
I gotta add something to this because I'm a numbers guy as well, and I want to. This is an authentic story. When I was just getting to the point where I was like, all right, I need to hire, or we're going to start building a team. I knew where I wanted to go, and a great friend of mine, Jenny Weimer, wanted to do the exact same thing, but we're both freaked out. So as opposed to doing what we should have done, which is individually hire an assistant, we hired an assistant, we shared it. So we had a minimal liability. By the way, if you're paying them $20 an hour, you're looking at $40,000 a year for an assistant that works for you full-time, that can handle, I don't know, your listings, pass it off. The assistant handles everything from there. If they're licensed, which they should be, they can open doors for you. They can do your transaction and they can follow up on your contacts. That's the expense of $40,000, and think how much you get back. But think about this. We hired an assistant, and because we got so much time back, even though we split it in 3 months, we said, this is crazy. We need a full-time assistant. We're hiring another one. Following that, because it works so well, we ended up 6 months later, because we always hired together. We'd interview and go back and forth together. She was just kind of my counterpart on that. We ended up hiring yet another assistant. And in the interim, we had a buyer agent that was handling the door opening because our assistants were so busy, because we got busier. Because remember, the most important person, the person that does really, that's the highest value, you have more time to do high value things and your business grows. Mitch, validate, invalidate.
Yeah, 100%. And more importantly than growing your business, let me take a step back real quick. Your money making years in your life are 40s, 50s, and 60s. That's where according to statistics, that's where you make your most money in your lifetime. You're going to miss out on so much of life if you're chasing the dollar. And I meet so many young people. I got one at 10 o'clock today. I got a kid coming in who's joining us. Young kid, 27 years old, did $10 million this year so far, second year in the business, working 80 hours a week, which is great. He's single, he can do that. And if you're single and doing that, go for it. But the other thing you're missing out, if you don't have kids, is you're missing out on experience. So there's a great book called Die With Zero. I don't know if you've read that, George, that we've all been pushing. Yep. Yes. And so I there's a couple of books you should all read. One is called Die With Zero. And Die With Zero is, besides Tony Robbins, probably it changed my life the most. I read it in August of 2021, which is why all that stuff happened with me stop selling houses. And the other book, if you want to run a business, is called E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And E-Myth Revisited, I'll give you a background on that. That was the first online dating service, which was very fun. So if you're single and you need some dating advice, I'm really good at it. And I was literally a micromanager. I had 12 employees at the time. I was on the road 25 days a month on the road, calling my assistant 6 times a day, calling my sales manager 6 times a day. And I was with a friend once on the phone, just like we are in real estate. And he goes, "You're going to die soon, right?" And I was like 35 years old, 36 years old. And he goes, "You need to change the way you do business so you'll never expand." And I read that book, E-Myth Revisited. He gave me that book. And it's really about making sure that you're not doing all the stuff. You should not be doing $10 an hour jobs, which are now $15 an hour jobs. They've went up. But you should not be doing $15 an hour job. You should not be doing your own closing transactions. If you're not paying a transaction coordinator, what are you doing? You should not be doing $15 an hour jobs. Don't be cheap. The other part of that I want you to think about, are you building a job or are you building a business? Most realtors build a job, a really shitty job, by the way, instead of building a business. I'm a business guy. So when I looked at I didn't do that for many, many years. I thought I was building a business, but I tell people I started my brokerage for leverage and freedom, and I got babysitting in prison. And that's just the reality. So are you building a business? Are you building a job? Are you building a business? Business people build businesses for freedom. That's it. Yes, we want to make money, but I was talking to AJ Mida the other day, and he's got, I don't know, 5,000-6,000 agents. And he goes, it wasn't about the money, it was about the freedom. And it took me way too long to figure this stuff. This kid's 35 years old, 36 years old, figured it out in his 30s, right? It took me till I was in my 60s to figure this crap out. But the reality is hire someone to do that, hire a closing coordinator, hire an assistant. You can hire, if you can't afford an assistant, partner with 3 or 4 other people and get 10 hours each a week. You know, and then it costs you $10,000 a year instead of $40,000 a year. There's a way if you want to build a business, but that's the mindset you need to think of. The other thing I see a lot of agents doing is not really understanding the investment to become a realtor is so low. $1,500, right? This is why new agents fail. It's $1,500. I mean, I'm taking my wife away from her birthday for 2 days. It's going to cost me $5,000. You know, it's nothing. $1,500 is nothing. You have to have a mindset that you invested $250,000 to start a real estate business. And if you go with that mindset that I invested $250,000 to start this company, you're going to do everything different. 100%, everything different. So starting a team is great. What I've learned over the years, I'd rather leverage people when I need them instead of having people stuck on me that I'm responsible for, because that doesn't give me freedom. Nothing wrong with it. Lots of people do teams. Brokerages, same thing. It's all ego based. I bet we brought on a brokerage in California, 120 agents, lost $700,000 last year. We have a broker I'm talking to up in New Jersey right now, 350 agents, made $104,000 last year. My best year with 120 agents, I made 200 grand. My average year was 50 to 75 grand profit. So leverage instead of building a team is way more valuable than building a team, in my opinion.
There's a lesson in here, and you just kind of validated that. And I'm going to bring it up again because I want you guys to get it. For everybody on this call, y'all are listening because you are the rainmaker. You are, my sincere hope is you're the one that is listening to this. And here's the other book, by the way, Who Not How. It's not who, it's not how, it's who. If you don't know exactly how to do something, you need the who person, not the how. Don't learn how, learn who. That being said, you're all the rainmakers of this business, and you have that option, as Mitch had talked about, to build freedom to pour into it or to do the babysitting. Most brokerages are basically large teams. You think of it that way. And the vast majority of them are financially not solvent or solely and completely relying almost entirely on one rainmaker, which could be you if you say, I'm going to build this big team and don't do it as a business, but do it as a job. There's a big difference. You could end up being the one doing all the work and everybody else saying, well, why aren't you doing more for me? And the truth of the matter is that's probably the wrong partnership. There's a lot to do in building a business. It's not just an overnight, and you can't, I'm passionate about this because that's what I used to do. You can't hire poorly and expect great results. That is so fundamental to what you're doing from your transaction manager. We're going to talk about that in a couple minutes of, what is the right hire. But think about this. If you, and for all of you out there that are saying, I'm going to build it, I'm going to do it. I think that's awesome. I wish you great success, and I know it will work, but don't do it the way Mitch did it. Don't do it the way I've done it. Do it the way that you're going to do it, as running a business. Because I think, Mitch, it's fair to say you and I both said, it's great. It's ego filling. We're going to be the best. We're going to have the biggest group. Okay. We're killing ourselves. We're not making any money. That's not right. I don't need your ego fed. I need your family fed, and I need you to build a legacy for yourself. So let's be really strategic. And I promise you, I know Mitch, you got one-on-one questions for him. He's easy to find. Ask him. Anybody you meet at EXPCon, you're like, they got a big team. How do they do it? Ask them. I'm going to ask a couple questions on what not to do shortly. You can do this. Do it smart. Don't give away all of your power because you're doing all the work. And that's running a business. You want to make sure you're doing. I'm sorry, I had to beat that up, Mitch, because it's so critical.
So the thing you got to look at is, and I don't mean to sound negative. I'm just honest. I mean, I'm not negative. If anybody knows George, I'm like the most positive person in the world.
Are you? You say you're honest, though, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Who's better looking, you or me?
Oh, you're better looking.
Okay, there we go. So now we know that you're honest. Okay, that's all that really mattered. Okay, my ego is satisfied.
Yeah, and it's only because you're like, look at you, you're such a stud.
Now you're lying.
Now I'm lying. Yeah. So I don't mean to be negative. And by all means, if that's what you want to do, I want you to do you. Like I said at the beginning, I want you to do you. I did me. But what I did is I followed the path that I was told to do in real estate, that I was showed this is the way, because nobody was honest.
Right.
No team leaders were honest. No brokers were honest. I mean, I know so many teams that I have one of my teams in California. He's got 20 agents. He's killing it. He's not making any money. There's a team in Orlando that I've been talking to, and great people. I did their numbers for them because she's killing it. She's got 15 agents. her team lost $7,500 last year. She thought she was killing it because she made a lot of money. So, really know what you're doing, and whatever your number is, if you're going to put a budget together for this, I'll just talk about money for a second because it's important. Whatever you think it's going to cost you, multiply it by at least 2 or 3, because you're wrong. And everything that in your projections for how much income you're going to bring in, divide it by 2 or 3, because that's correct. All right. So make sure you're running a business. And what do you do when you start a business? The first thing you do when you start a business, you put a business plan together, right? I will tell you that 90% of the people that I talk to that I've coached or helped coach, who've started teams, no plan at all. Well, I got all these leads. I'm going to bring on agents and they're going to call them. They're not going to call them. They're not calling your old leads. So if you're going to build a team, you have to have systems in place to convert those leads. I was the first guy doing inside salespeople, for instance, because I knew my agents were going to call leads. We started doing inside sales in 2006. It didn't start getting big until 2012. And the reason why I did that is I knew agents wouldn't call their leads, so I had to have a mechanism in place for my business, because I'm running a business, on how I'm going to convert more leads. Anyways, I think we beat that up pretty good.
We did, and thank you very much. There's a lot of meat in there. So this is the next thing I wrote down. Marketing always comes up. Should we spend the money or shouldn't we? Do you have any advice for those who are doing well and considering investing in actually doubling down in marketing, considering what we're doing in the economy right now? Before you answer that, I have to throw this out there. So many of us are doing all the work, doing the right thing. We're working harder and we're getting less business. But I pray that you're listening to what people are saying, because they're telling you when they do want to do business, and they'll let you know going forward. Now, I think about this. Jeffrey, you and I talked about this a while ago, but when I'm having conversations, how's it going? And people are like, oh my God, well, I'm not ready to buy it, but the interest rates are too high. Okay, so I know they're going to buy. I just know that there's a trigger in the market that's upsetting them a bit. If nothing else, we should be building a heck of a pipeline for buyers and sellers, and every one of your sellers is a double side right now. Just consider that. Every listing you focus on is 2. It's 2 sales at a minimum, hopefully 3 if you market it well. Okay, so y'all keep in mind that what we've got now is a stalled market with massive demand. And our job is to have informed conversations with the people we're engaged with to find out when that demand trigger occurs. I don't want to buy anything until the rates get down to at least 6. Okay, cool. I'm just throwing this out there. Ongoing conversations are, hey, they just talked about the rates were dropping a little bit. I just wanted to give you the news, and you can communicate with them and be the resource that's needed, and you will be in line when it's time. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. Back to marketing. Marketing always comes up. Should we spend money or shouldn't we? Do we have advice for those who are doing well and considering investing or doubling down on their marketing? What are your thoughts, Mitch?
So a couple of things, and I love this subject, by the way. So my background is marketing and advertising. I was a big radio and TV guy, big internet guy, obviously, with my online dating service and stuff. And it depends on what your marketing's supposed to do. So if you're doing marketing to generate leads, why are you doing that? What's the purpose of that? What's the amount of work? And I'll give you an example of that. Facebook leads, by the way, there's a hierarchy of leads, right? And so Facebook marketing, average conversion on a Facebook is 1 out of 300. These are averages, by the way. There's people that kill it, there's people that don't. Most people don't. Average of pay-per-click Google AdWords is 0.75%, less than 1%. Average on Zillow and Realtor.com are 3%. Right? Open houses and referrals are the best leads to me. Referrals being the best, open houses being second best. So my question is, what are you going to spend the money on, and why? Are you going to be doing branding? Or are you going to be doing direct marketing to generate leads? Knowing what I know now after all these years of being in this business, everybody has more business sitting right. You can't see my phone on this thing, can you? There's a phone here, right there. There you go. Everything is so what I want everybody to do this exercise for me right now, and I want you to put this in the chat. Go onto your phone, and I'm not sure how Androids work, but on iPhones, go into your contacts and scroll all the way to the bottom, and then put that number in the chat box for me. And we're gonna talk about something. While you're doing that, why do you think people use you as a realtor? People usually think, well, because I'm honest, because they trust me. All that stuff. The reality, that's all, no, they don't care. They don't care about you at all. Now, you'll have a few people that are loyal, absolutely, but they use you because you happen to be in front of them at the time you're thinking about buying or selling. right? That's it. No other reason. How can a new agent come in like myself and sell 36 homes, right? If everybody was loyal to their agent. The statistic for NAR is 88% of people say they would use their realtor again, and only 11% do. All right, so let me go through these numbers real quick because I don't want to take up a lot of time on this. 1095, 3762. This is great. So everybody's chasing leads, right? That's all I hear from every agent. Oh, I gotta get leads. I gotta do this. First question, every agent that comes into my door. Oh, are you gonna give me leads? If you're gonna give me leads, I'll join you. I'm like, I'm not giving you leads. You want to build my business? You want to build your business? So let's just use Elizabeth's number there, 1,095. The statistic from NAR is 7 out of 100 contacts will buy or sell a home this year. It's not my number, it's an NAR number. 7 out of 100. So Elizabeth has almost 77 sales sitting there in her phone that she's probably not using. Right? Claire, you could feed an army with what you have. I mean, all these numbers are huge. I mean, Heather, you're a little bit low there, but still 14 sales sitting there, right? Ted, same thing. So stop worrying about marketing so much and deal with what you already have. So let's talk about that for a minute. And this is marketing still, by the way. It's just a different way of thinking about it. Who trusts you the most? The people that are sitting in your phone, right? So you already have that beat. You don't have to earn that. So one of the things, again, remember what I said, the people use you because they're thinking about buying or selling, right? That's when you have to be in front of them. So we have I used to do this in the phone call. Let me give you a step back for a second. I did this with the phone because back in 2001, when I started business, we didn't have MailChimp or Constant Contact or any of these email programs that are phenomenal, right? So one of the things that we'll look at is creating a list of all those people in your contacts, and there's 2 lists. One list is all the people that are local, and another list that are all the people that are not local. So all the people in the market, in your market area, and then all the people out of your market area. In some market area, like I know people from Orlando come over here to Brevard County and go to Tampa, wherever you're going to service, you service your area. And you create those 2 lists. The first list, every month, you're going to do 2 emails. The first email is a market update. Hey, everybody, one of the things, or hey, it'll be an assistance to me. Hey, Bill, one of the things I do for my friends and family is keep them updated on the local market here and wherever you live. Below is the stats for last month, boom. And then you end with, and then you copy and paste the stats, which every board sends out to their agents every month, into the body of the email. And then you end with, as you know, as a realtor, I work by referral only, and I could really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, could you send me their contact info? Right? That's email number 1. 2 weeks later, hey, Bill, one of the fun things I get to do is share with everybody my top 10 things to do in Brevard County next month. Below is my top 10 things. You go online, find 10 cool things to do in your area, put it in the middle there, in the body, you end with the exact same term. As you know, as a realtor, I work by referral only, and I could really, really use your help. And really, really is very important, by the way. Really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, could you send me their contact info is the other important part. You're not asking them to share your contact info with them. You want them to give their contact info. Now it's a warm lead, right? And so my last agent that did this, and it's pulling teeth to get agents to do this, in her first 3 months with me, she had 6 listings and 4 buyers following the system, right? From her database, she had 400 people in her database. Go ahead, George.
So we all have people in our phones. We can all do this. This is absolutely a doable thing that can happen right now. And as opposed to, because we've got a lot of successful agents on the call that are saying, I want to continue to grow. And this is going to bring us into the next conversation we're going to have, and I'm not going to foreshadow it too much, but you can actually scale that by referring a buyer out that you can't work with because you're too busy and stuff like that, until you get to the point where you're like, oh, I really need to hire somebody. And which is the beauty of this too. It doesn't put you in a position of being overwhelmed. So everybody that freaks out, because people do, they're like, oh my God, what if I got so busy I wouldn't know what to do? Real easy. Call your friend and say, hey, listen, I want you to show some properties for me. I'll give you a referral. They will love you forever. And you won't get overwhelmed. I mean, right, Mitch? Isn't that the easiest way to just say,
it's not hard.
You can handle it?
This business is so easy. So if you do this, like you literally can work 20 hours a week and make a couple $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, remember, time is more important to me than money. And I wish I learned that 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So marketing equals consistency, is about consistency, which equals sales. I don't care what you're doing. If you're not doing it forever, you're not going to win. Right. So whatever you choose to do, you got to stick with it. You may not get sales the first 2 or 3 months of doing this, but you will get sales from it. There's no question. I had an exercise, and someone mentioned Bold, because I believe it's from Bold, that they have this thing where you can go on your phone and say, I'm in a class right now, we're having a contest, and I could really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, could you send me their contact info? And so I did that in an Orlando class last year. We had 100 agents at the class. And within 8 minutes, because I gave 8 minutes to do this, I had everybody put that in and go in their notes and copy and paste it. Hi, Bill. Hi, Tom. Hi, Sarah. Hi, so-and-so. And within 8 minutes, we generated 185 leads. And I'll guarantee you that only 50% of the people actually did it, if that many. 185 leads. I was with a friend of mine at a bar earlier this year. He was complaining because he's like, yeah, I got nothing going on. I made him take out his phone. I made him do that to 90 people in his list. He got 2 leads in 5 minutes and sold 2 homes in 2 weeks. You have so much business sitting here that you're wasting your time on. Now, how does that continue to grow? How do you scale that more? Is every person that you meet now, you add to that list. Right? So that list is a living document, a living spreadsheet, a living system. It keeps growing. And how do you do that? Let me give you an example of how you do that. This is really complicated, so you're gonna have to really pay attention because it's really complicated. Because I love complicated stuff. So I've sold about at least 24 homes at Publix, which is our grocery store here in Florida. How did I do that? I always pick the longest line at the grocery store. And this is my magic words. I go to the person in front of me, I go, hey, how's your day going today? And they always say the same thing. They say it's going good, it's going great. And then they say, how's your day going? I go, real estate market, it's crazy. I'm in the real estate business. Oh, you're in the real estate business. Boom. Add them to my list. Would you like me to keep you updated on the local market? Sure, that'd be great. Add them to my list. Right? I keep my email list separate from my CRM. I don't put people in my CRM until they raise their hand that they're interested in buying or selling. Because what we found over the years of doing database management, which I've done a ton of with real estate, is if you have too many leads in your database, you won't work any of them. So you keep the email program separate. And when someone raises their hand, you put them in there. And I have if you go to my YouTube channel and put in how to make $100,000 a year working 4 hours a day, I have a whole webinar on this. And if you want some help, just call me and I'm glad to help anybody. I don't care. But that's one thing. So the second list I want to talk about too, because it's really important. I made an extra 25, 30 grand a year every single year by just calling, calling my friends back in Boston. Can't tell them from Boston. I still park my car in each other. But I would call my friends, and actually, I'll tell you how the story happened. It's kind of funny. My buddy Joe's the one who convinced me to get into real estate. When I lost $82 million in 2000, I still had the company for another year, and then I ran out of money and ran out of basically energy anymore. And my buddy Joe's like, get your real estate license. I'm like, I hate realtors. I don't want to do it. Every realtor I ever had was terrible. He goes, yeah, use that to be a good realtor. I'm like, okay. So I got my license, and a few months into being a realtor, I realized how bad realtors were. And let's face it, you guys are all rock stars, but this is we all know it. There's a lot of really sucky realtors that shouldn't be in this business. We all know that. I see all your head shaking, right? Yeah. And so I call up Joe, because he made me do this business. I go, Joe, I mean, I knew realtors were bad, but I didn't realize how bad. He goes, you could pick the wrong realtor, it'll easily cost you tens of thousands of dollars. And we all know that can happen. We've all seen that a million times, right? And so I go, so if you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, let me know, and I'll interview realtors for them. So he goes, well, my friend, and I'm making up a name because it's 22 years ago. My friend Bill's looking for a house. I go, what's his number? So I call Bill. I said, hey, Bill, Joe Miranda? He's like, oh yeah, Joe's a good guy. And we talked about Joe for a few minutes. And I said, Joe said you're looking to buy a home. Have you picked a realtor yet? He goes, no, we were just talking about that with my wife last night. I go, one of the things I do is I have a concierge service for my friends and their families, is I call realtors and interview realtors to make sure we get you a good one. Because if you pick the wrong realtor, it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars. So I did that, and Bill said, that'd be great. And I got him a realtor. I called 3 realtors. I went on Yahoo, because there was no Google back then. Went on Yahoo, found 3 realtors, interviewed them, found the one I liked. And 2 months later, I got a check for $1,400. So now that second list of all those people that you don't service, that's the messaging. One of the things is the same thing. It's a little different, but it only goes out once a month. But if you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, if they pick the wrong realtor, it could cost them tens of thousands of dollars. One of the things I do for my friends and family is I interview realtors to find them the best realtor. If you know someone looking to buy or sell, could you send me their contact info? So again, I made an extra 25 to 30 grand a year every year by making phone calls doing that. Think of how powerful that is if you're sending out emails to 10 times, 20 times more people than I could have done making phone calls. So my point going back to marketing, George, is I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on stuff that didn't work. But you know what works every time is my sphere. If you talk to anybody that's hugely successful, they don't spend a lot of money on marketing. They'll spend money on branding, two different things, right? Marketing, but they don't spend any money. They work this sphere. I talked to Elizabeth Riley about that, who sells 75 homes a year. She doesn't do any marketing. All she does is her sphere. So stop chasing those silver little shiny object leads, because you're not going to convert them. If they're internet leads, it's 10 other people have the exact same lead. So it's not like it was. It changed about 3 or 4 years ago, which is why I sold my system and got rid of it, because I saw the market shifting again with lead generation. And work what you have, and just your job should be to build that list and continue to build that list every week by going to the grocery store. And I don't care where you are. I had a girl come to my office a couple weeks ago, and she said, nothing going on. She 4 months in the business, hadn't had a sale yet. I go, what are you doing? She goes, well, I'm doing a ton of social media. I go, well, how's that working? She goes, well, I haven't had a sale yet. I go, I want you to go to this coffee shop that I know. And it's always a line there because it's a great coffee shop. And I went and I told her what I told her to do, what I just told you guys to do. And she called me 2 hours later. She got a listing from it. Right. And by the way, she hasn't done that since, and she hasn't sold a house since.
She
Right?
stopped.
Crazy.
I want to add one thing to this. This is for everybody here, because I think everybody here, unless you're complete younger generation, is not going to do it. I'm going to share my screen real quick. If you want to add, I don't have enough people in my database. I want to add more people in my database. Go to Facebook, scroll on down to events. Once you click on events, click on birthdays. Once you click on birthdays, you're going to see that there is a myriad of people showing up. And here they all are, like Rob's birthday's today. Let's see, a bunch of other people. And then you've got birthdays that are up and coming. And you can even go forward a couple of days on this one. And with your phone, since they're probably in your phone and you haven't had a really good relationship with them, or it's not as deep as you want, go to the message, hold down the camera button and do this. Hey, Rob, actually, I'm going to have to do this. It'll be for Rob West, and say, hey, Rob, happy birthday. Sorry, I missed it. I should have gotten to you yesterday. I can't believe I missed your birthday, or it's coming up in a couple of days. And now I'm in relationship because I'm coming from contribution and saying something, and this person can then go into that list and I can continue to follow up with them. It's how you create that friendship and that relationship as well. Had to add that to it because it's so easy, and everybody should be doing that with your database currently, but you can add to your database that way as well.
Yeah, none of this is rocket science, guys. I mean, it really isn't. I didn't know one person when I got into real estate and sold 36 homes my first year. And I did that mostly from open houses.
Yep.
Because I sat down and said, I don't know anybody here except my girlfriend who lived with me. So she wasn't buying anything. And how am I going to generate business? And everybody told me not to do open houses. So when people tell me not to do something, that means I probably should. That means they probably suck at it. And I know I'll figure out systems to make it better. But people were coming to me. So how can that be a bad thing? Right? Everybody wants to, they want to get here without doing the work to get there. Yeah. And all you got to do is do the work simple. And one of the things I'll throw in there, the reason why people don't do the list is because it's overwhelming. I mean, you got 1,095 people in that list, right? 3,000 people, 6. It's a lot to do that. And you don't have their email addresses. So what do you have to do? You have to text them and say, hey, I'm updating my contact list. I don't have your email. What's your email address? So you go through your phone, text every single person that, right? So say 50% give that to you, right? Which more will do because they're all your friends, right? That's how you create your list. But here's the challenge. So people have always asked me, how was I able to write books, working 100 hours a week? And I write for 15 minutes a day. So all my projects that are overwhelming, I do 15 minutes a day. And that allows me to write a book. It's the same thing with this. So for 15 minutes, 30 minutes a day, just start reaching out to your contacts. You don't have to have that list done today. Right. It can be done over the next 60, 90, 120 days. And if you did 10 people a day, that's 300 people a month. Right.
Love that really took marketing and said, okay, is that where you're going to focus? And for everybody out there, if you're like me, and I know how you feel because I felt the same way, but what I found, and that's feel, felt, found, by the way, is that I had the business in front of me yet I still chased objects, the people I didn't know, when I wasn't really pouring into the people that already thought I was pretty terrific to start with. And why are we doing that? And I know mine because it was ego based. I had to look at that very closely with my coach. What's your reason? You've got such a strong group of people that already like you. Are you afraid you're going to say something stupid or look ridiculous? You're not. You're coming from contribution and assistance. So get that out of your head. They actually want to hear from you. Be careful not to say, hey, listen, who are you buying and selling? Refer me to somebody right now. You can tell them that that's how your business works, as Mitch brought up, but please don't have that fear, and I did, that you'd be bothering them. Jackie's still panicked, but freaked out, doesn't want to call her database because she thinks she's bothering them. So we'll call them and have fun.
Well, George, that's the reason why we came up with the email program. So yes, ultimately, if you sat there and made phone calls every day, did 10, 15 calls every day, and called your database every day, that's optimal. But the reality is, again, I've learned over the years, most realtors are not going to do that. So we came up with the program this email program, which works great, because I know that most people won't take the time. The problem is when you get really busy, you stop making your prospecting, right? This allows you to do your prospecting while you're still busy.
Hey, we've got 2 questions that come up, and Claire just brought something. I'm going to throw it out real quick because she's driving. She can't do this. During the past 8 days, the hurricane, by the way, went right over the top of her, lost power, just got it back a couple days ago. This is what she wrote. Hey, during the storm, the past 8 days, through the storm, I built my database by over 25 people that's having conversations, adding to the database with no power, no water, no internet in the midst of it. And we now have 3 new buyers, a seller, and currently working on a listing for sale. What I'm saying is that she was standing in line in Publix. We're just going to call it a hurricane went over the top of her house and her neighborhood destroyed it, but she became engaged and she had an opportunity to have conversations. We just thought that was important. And Mitch, if you don't mind, we've got Jessica and Krista have their hands up. Jessica, let's go to you first, if you would. And Krista, we'll jump to you in just a second, my friend.
Good morning. So I really appreciated this call and your honesty, and I have struggled with the team thing as well. That might be what Krista's asking about too, because her and I talk about it a lot. And I'm with you. Like, I'm at a point though where I'm running out of hours in the day, and I'm just not sure what to do about that. Like exactly what you talked about, I'm relating to. Like, I don't have the time for prospecting anymore. I do have a transaction coordinator. I try to leverage things out to buyer agents, but like, for example, a week ago, I went on vacation and I set up a great lead of mine with a buyer agent, and she went and saw properties by herself. So I'm at this point where I'm having trouble of what's the next step. Is it assistant? Is it I just want to know how you suggest leveraging if you don't have a team.
Sure. Assistant is the right word. So when I first realized I couldn't sell more than 50 homes a year by myself, I hired it, and I should have done it at 36, by the way. I didn't. I hired a licensed assistant, because as George mentioned earlier, having a licensed assistant gives you all, like, for instance, I didn't go to inspections anymore. My assistant went to those. I didn't show most buyers. I didn't show anymore, right? And I paid her back then was $10 an hour and 10% bonus on sales. So I would do that before I would hire. I mean, you should have an assistant. If you're selling houses at the level that you're selling, Jess, you know, maybe calling you Jess, right? That's my nickname for you.
Appreciate it.
It is yeah, and they just call me Mitch, the son of a bitch, but that's different. But my point is transaction coordinators are good, but they can only do so much, right? Where you can have a full-time assistant that can do transaction coordination and so much more.
Okay.
And that's how
you would leverage.
That's the first thing.
versus the
That's
team.
the first step for everybody, is hire an assistant that's licensed, that can offload all the stuff that doesn't generate business for you. Like when you have an inspection, you're not generating business anymore, right? You already have
That's
that
what
business.
I'm on my way to right now. I'm literally on my way to stay at like probably a 3-hour inspection, and it kills me.
Yep. Yeah. No. And so when I started doing that, I still went to some inspections. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, but I had time. You know, I had like 1 month I sold June of 2004. I remember I sold 13 homes that month. That's you know, that's 20. That's 13 every other day going to an inspection, right? Can't do it.
Right.
So you have to look at your time. And I'll give you an example of how to do this. You have to look at your time every day, and what's money making activities and what's not money making activities. your business should be 80% money-making activities. Make sense? And if
So
it's
far
not,
away from that.
yeah. If you're not, then you're missing, you're not growing. You're staying in this stagnant level, trying to figure out what to do. And you're going to make lots of mistakes along the way, which everybody does. And by the way, I said this earlier, and I sincerely mean this. I don't sell houses anymore. All I do is coach people either on attraction or selling houses. If anybody wants to get together for an hour, let me know. Reach out to me on Workplace, and we'll set up a time to get together to help you with your business. I don't care even what organization you're in anymore. It doesn't matter. The EXP's changed my family's life dramatically, and now my job is to change other people's lives. But so yeah, Jessica, I would definitely do that first, and see how much that offsets your time, and then she could do more than most. She or he could do more for you than hiring a one-time $25 an hour showing assistant. Okay.
Okay.
When this is over as well, y'all stick around. We're going to have a conversation to kind of finish up we have an after party that goes on until 10. And we've got to respect Mitch's time because thank you, Mitch. We appreciate it. We've got one more with Krista, but stick around. I'm going to dig deeper into the assistants, the hires, and what to do. And DJ's here if she can hang around. But the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, as she wrote, is an extraordinary, still very, very relevant in how to go about the process. Thank you very much, Jessica, as always, my dear friend. Krista, let's turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mitch, for this call as well. And yes, Jessica and I are in the same market here in Boca Raton, so we kind of have the same questions regarding team building. So with EXP, when you moved, obviously you said it changed your life, and we are also building our partnership or revenue share organizations, which at some point does feel like another job on top of the job that we already have.
Yep.
How do you differentiate between your revenue share, potentially a team or a buyer's agent, and not, because then it's just a lot when it's growing?
So, yeah, good question. So it just depends on the people you meet, right? So for instance, if you meet someone that's like you, they're not going to want to be on your team, right?
Correct.
That's a revenue share person. When you're doing, and someone else asked a question there about revenue share and stuff like that too. So we'll talk about attraction for a minute, if that's okay. And obviously to me, that's, with 2,200 agents, it's life-changing, not just for myself, but for my kids and my grandkids, and maybe even their kids, and my great kids. I don't know how long it'll go on after I'm dead, but that was the biggest reason I switched to EXP. As a broker, I knew if I died, my family got nothing, all my agents scatter. Now if I die, my wife makes a lot more money than I make, because she just steps into my spot, and all of our bills go away because I stopped doing everything that we do for our organization, which cost me $30,000-$40,000 a month. So it's just about who you're talking to. So people who are going to join a team are generally people, and again, I'm going back, and if you're on a team, I'm not meaning to disparage you in it.
No, I don't have a team. I'm a solo agent.
No, I'm talking about people who might be on a team. People generally go to a team because they need leads, right? That's generally why they join a team, and people who start a team like yourself or looking to start a team are doing it because you have too many leads, right? So it's just a matter of how do we organize your business first to maximize what you're doing from a production standpoint. Then how do you take that production standpoint and turn that into revenue share? So one of the easiest things to do from that standpoint is every deal that you do, make a joke to the person, say, hey, how come you haven't joined EXP yet? Now I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 people will laugh at you, right? But the other ones say, I've been watching it, and you're looking for a little break in the armor, a little crack in the armor. And it works out to be about 10%. One of my favorite lines from attraction is don't be attached to any outcomes. Right? And that's the problem most people have is they get shut down by somebody because they did it wrong. And then they never did it again. So the right way to do it is we call it EXPing on people, EXPing on people. You can't sit there and stop blah, blah, blah about EXP. You've got to really care about the production. So it sounds like to me, Krista, that you're successful, and your goal when you're talking to another agent, it could be anybody, but hey, I'd love to sit down sometime and talk about your business and how you're growing, because I'm always open to learn more and go from a heart of contribution. I will tell you that I've personally brought on 110 agents. I have not made one phone call to recruit an agent. Not one. And they're all relationship based. And they're all like, I'll give you an example. The guy's coming in at 10 o'clock today. Young kid, and he asked for a coaching session. He's with Sotheby's, and I gave him a coaching session. And by the time we're done with the coaching session, he said, well, how do I work with you? Like, well, the only way you can really work with me is if you join EXP, because then I can give you more coaching. But that's it. He goes, well, tell me about it. And that was it. And for you guys, it's really important to be doing a three-way call. George, I'm assuming you do three-way calls, right? And so, reach out to George, with the person in that line is very simple. It's like, I'd love to give you more information about EXP, and I'm really busy out selling property, so I don't know all the ins and outs and all the details. George is the one that explained it to you the best. So if I get George on the phone, would you talk to George? Really, really simple. The other way of doing it is going to open houses. I went to an open house last weekend, and I got a guy joining this week because of my open house. That I went to an open house. The agent was there. He had nobody there because he doesn't know how to do open houses correctly, which I'm working with him now. And he's joining EXP now because I went in and showed him how to. So everything I do is based on contribution and how can I help you grow your business. But don't go out with the I'm going to sell you an EXP mentality because they're not going to do it.
Yeah,
go with-
Mitch, I'm not having an issue with, attraction because
Okay.
it's kind of natural like you. It's the retention that, how do we keep people in here? Because I feel responsible for everybody that's coming in.
Sure. That's a great, I didn't get that, sorry. Get them to plug in. I mean, really,
Right.
the reason why people leave is because they don't plug in. 100%.
Right.
So, so like, Jordy mentioned earlier about going to EXPCon. EXP Family Tree is a great place to plug people in. You should always be talking to your frontline people. I talk to my frontline people all the time. Yeah, because those are the ones that are going to help you grow, right? And the thing is with them, it's all about production. And you can't get into pushing people on revenue share.
Right.
All right. Because most people are never going to do it. Most people don't. Only 12% do it in the company. Only 12% have anybody under them, right? Most people want to sell houses. So be really good at helping your frontline sell houses or your organization. That's all I mean, we do 5 classes a week in my group. Anywhere from attraction to selling houses, to guest speakers and stuff like that. Same, just like we all do a lot for our organizations. Get them to plug in and they don't leave. And I'll give you an example of that. Like I said, I have 180 agents here locally in my organization. Last year we lost 4.
Right.
Not a lot. If I had lost 4, you're gonna lose more than 4 in a brokerage every year. If you have 180 people, you're gonna lose a lot more than 4 people every year. Generally it's about 25 to 30% leave every year.
Okay. Thank you.
And the other part, one more thing on that, I'll mention to all you guys. If people leave your organization, they go somewhere else. Either 2 things that happen. Either they felt like they were alone, which is the number one thing I hear when I talk to people who left EXP. And they were alone because they didn't do the job of plugging in, by the way, but they'll blame something else besides themselves for not plugging in. And that's really, why it's just why they leave. I've talked to several people who've left. I've got people who left EXP that are coming back to EXP now that were in other organizations because they weren't getting cared for. They want to sell houses. Show them how to sell more homes. Okay.
That's the secret. Be interested in their business. And if you sponsor somebody, be interested in their business. However, I have to say this, if you're going to sponsor somebody, they have a responsibility to plug in, as Mitch said very clearly, but they also have a responsibility to do the hard work. And the checklist that we use in the GPS group, which by the way, we've given now to the entire EXP organization. I was with the COO and the person that takes the onboarding on. We've given them our checklist and said, this needs to be nationwide. But here's the thing. You can't bring and force them to do the work. If they're not going to do the work, they're not going to do it here. They're not going to do it anywhere else. They're not going to do it. Don't try and change a personality style. If it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. The people that do the work in real estate, no matter what you do, will be successful. If those are the people you're bringing on, and those are the people that are in your world, honor them with your attention and obviously help them. It's a wonderful feeling when you can help somebody's life improve. DJ, you got your hand up. My boss, partner, friend, what's up?
Well, the group I work with, we ex-team leaders from KW, we've been talking about this very subject for the last 2 or 3 weeks. People join you because of you. They buy into you and they join you for that, but they don't stay for that. They stay if they plug in to what's available there at EXP. And so it's that transitioning them from from being your baby to growing up and being an adult and having access to all the things that can make them successful, because you have a limited amount of time. And if you don't push them into or out of the nest, if you want to call it that, you're doing them a huge disservice, in my opinion.
Well, and it comes down to, do you want people to be dependent on you? Right? Like that was, again, a big reason why I made the switch to having my own brokerage to EXP is I didn't want anybody dependent on me anymore. And, the whole that's why, again, I'm not a big fan of doing leads for agents and stuff like that anymore, even though that's what I did for many years. If they're dependent on you, you don't have freedom. Yeah. And what's your goal? I mean, everybody's goal is freedom, right?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about teams in a second. I want to jump to this because it's really kind of relevant. And well, first off, I have to say, because I want to respect your time, Mitch. I mean, we've an hour and 10 minutes, and I wanted at least 30 from you. Haha. That's how this works in this world. Thank you.
I'm good. So, but there was one more question on there about brick and mortar. Someone asked about that.
Please. Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
So I do have 2 offices here in Brevard County. It definitely helps me attract. Definitely is not a question about that. One of them is a regular office, about 1,500 square feet that I bought building. And actually, funny story behind that is it was a brokerage there, and I told the broker, you should join EXP. He goes, well, if you buy my building, I'll join. I go, okay. So I bought his building. But if you try to get office space, because they're the Google pin map on the map and stuff like that, is go get an executive suites. Where I am right now, I have 2 offices here for the executive suites. My one office that I'm sitting in is a corner office, great view, cost me $550 a month. So you don't have to spend a lot of money in office space. Nobody's going to use it. My other office space, 1,500 square feet, literally nobody's there except for Mondays when I'm there. I do a class every Monday there at 9:30. Nobody's ever there, ever. I've not gone in there once, and I go in there all the time, and not one agent's ever been in there. When we had 120 agents, we did a study of our office space. We had 3 offices. We had a 5,000 square foot office, a 3,600 square office, and a 2,000 square foot office. The 2 smaller ones were on the beach side, and the main one was in Melbourne. And the main office with 120 agents, we averaged 2 people a day coming in for less than an hour. And for my satellite offices, we averaged two people a week coming in. That was it. So the office space thing, when you're talking to someone about office space, is I want to ask you, why do you need an office space? And how often do you go to the office now? The answer is usually, well, I just go in to pick up checks. Very few people work at offices. And then I tell people all the time, I say, the people, well, I want to learn from people that are there. Right? I hear that a lot. Well, the people that are successful are never in the office, ever. So you're not going to learn from it, but you're going to learn from a bunch of people that aren't selling houses. And by the way, they're going to give you the most advice too, because the people that sell no homes give you the most advice.
Right. Well said.
Yeah.
Well
Okay,
said.
sorry.
Love that. No, it's really good stuff. And if you feel office space is important, do you ask yourself, how often do you go to it? Do you prefer working from home? Which is exactly the segue into, we're building a business that I want to talk about. So Mitch, stay. I'd love to have you stay if you want to. We're going to run till 10.
Good.
You're successful. We're making that assumption. You're on this call. You are a successful real estate agent. Of course, this is a challenging market. We get that. We're all feeling it. I'm feeling it. You're feeling it. We get it. But you have a course and a trajectory for success. We had a lot of conversations today about if you're going to build a team. And what I clearly heard, and I would love some open conversation about this, is I want to get to the point where I can actually put somebody in place. First, a transaction manager. I can take that off my plate and start doing productive things by leveraging my time, which allows me to be more productive. Now, think about this. If we're going to our database, who here, show of hands, people I can see, I'm included in this survey, is managing their database at the absolute highest level, or at least the top 90%. Raise your hand if you are. 1. Okay, and for everybody else being honest, myself included, thank you for being honest. Krista, that's awesome. Here's the thing. Dollar productive time would be managing your database, not necessarily continuously having to manage it, but at least getting it up and running. This is real money we're talking about, with a 7 out of 100 conversion rate, as opposed to a 0.5 on one you actually spend a shit ton of money for. And it's free. And it's where most of your business is going to come. Some statistically, most of your business will come 30% or 90% of the agents that have been in business for over 3 years identify that their database is their number one lead generation source where most of their business comes from. You already have it. Now leverage your time so you can make it really good, like Krista's. If we can do that, you're going to get to the point where maybe I want to bring a buyer agent in, but you don't want to run a team. And there's some of us on the call, we're private chatting back and forth, where it's like, oh my God, I'm pulling my hair out. It's not what I expected. Maybe you just find a good friend and you refer it to them at a 50% referral, which is the same agreement in the team. You pre-qualified, you're ready to go. You've shown them a home, maybe show them one and say, my partner is going to be handling this because I've got to respond, however you handle it. But what if we got your transactional count from, let's pretend it's at 25 to use a round number for everybody right now. And by doing this over the course of a year, because you have a plan, you got it up to 35 without investing any more time, because you've committed to a transaction manager who's licensed, who can really be a surrogate assistant for the time being. And you've also committed to having a very finite amount of time and days put into your buyer sides, regardless of price point. It's just, you're not going to invest the time in there. And you've really said, I'm going to be a listing agent. And like Mitch, 2 of them show up, or over the course of a couple months, that's where it starts to come. Do you see how we're gaining time, but also gaining leverage? If you're going to open a business and run a big team, there is a very high probability, unless you are a far greater hirer and interviewer of people than I am, and I actually got paid to do that at every restaurant I worked at. If you're the best of the best, you're probably not the best real estate agent to lead the team. So the chances are it's not going to happen. But if you can't hire the absolute perfect agents every time, it's going to suck the time out of you. It's going to suck the energy out of you. And you're going to actually be the one working to make sure they get paid. And when they go home at the end of the day, because they've called all their leads, you're going to be out showing, you're going to be out working, you're going to be out listing, you're going to be out managing, you're going to be out running. I'm all for building a team slowly and cautiously, but I'm even more for leveraging what you need to get off your plates that isn't your sweet spot, the who, to do the how. Don't learn how to do the how. Find the who. Transaction should be the first thing. A friend you can refer to that you're friends with said, listen, I got a buyer side. I want you to handle it for me, start to finish. They're pre-qualified. They already know where they're looking. We've got the searches set up. Here's what they're looking for. 50-50. Done. I'm in. And be there at closing. Do y'all see how this can free up your time to really dig into what's going to grow your business? Because Mitch nailed it. And I tell you, I want you guys to think about this. What if you listed 30 homes a year and referred out 40 buyer sides a year at a 50% referral or 25% referral, however you want to do it? You would make well over $250,000, well over $250,000 after a full-time assistant that runs the sellers for you. And that's your biggest expense. Full-time. Does everything. That's $250,000 and you've got free time. Because I can do, Mitch, you and I could do 30 listings in less than 3 hours a week, taking 12 weeks off a year. Easily. Properly leveraged. So what's your business plan? And this is where Mitch started with it. Do you have a business plan? I'm here to tell you, we are literally right now 23 days away from the beginning of 2024. It starts October 1st. That's the first quarter of 2024. Is your business plan and what you're going to do ready? And if it isn't, maybe that's where we focus some time. You're here because you can do this and you've already proven you are doing it. And if you're in the middle of it and you're pulling your hair out and you know exactly who I'm talking to because you've got one of my hats, is it the right model? Is it the right business plan for your next year? Do you get some of your time back? Can you spend it with your husband or your wife or your children or whatever you need to spend it? Or in Mitch's case, playing baseball and playing music and grandkids. That's his passion. And I love it. Does your business plan work the way you want it to? Is the end result that, or is it you doing all the work and other people saying, why didn't you give me more leads? These leads suck. I don't want to do that. What do you mean I got to do an open house? Because they're never going to be as motivated as you are. So maybe they don't get to call you boss. Maybe they get to call you kind, nice person who gives them referrals regularly and they'll do anything for. But nobody makes you work for them. And unfortunately, running a business not planned, a lot of times you end up being the one doing the work for them. Now we open that up to anything. I'm going to read some comments. It's really long and I can't see who it's from, so I'm assuming it's Claire. No, it's Mitch. That was my soliloquy to end this great call on my side. Now it's all you. Any thoughts, any suggestions, any comments? It's you guys are in charge. Outstanding. Yeah. Oh, nicely done. Mitch just put in there, by the way, giving referrals to other agents is a great way to attract them. You know, that's pretty much true. If you find a really good agent who's got great potential, you give them 2 or 3 referrals, say, listen, I can't do it anymore. Maybe you just join my company and then I can give them to you all the time. They'll be like, okay, you care about my business more than anybody else has. All right. Tiffany, you're on. Thanks, partner. I'll leave it to you. Mitch, thank you.